Welcome to Electripreneur Secrets, the Electrician podcast. I'm your host, Clay Newmeyer, and this is my esteemed co-host, Joseph, the sales bot Lucani. We keep calling him that because the guy is an absolute foundation of sales and service knowledge for electricians. Keeps blowing us all the way. Hasn't been stumped yet. We've been working together for months. I have not seen you stumped, sir.
Well, thank you. I really do appreciate it. And it's not that it's not going to happen, because it will happen. I'm no better than anyone else. I just practiced a process that I know will keep working, and I can't wait to deliver that same level of service to all of our clients.
Whew, that muscle memory really pays off. We've got a great show for you guys today, and it's going to help you master your sales, simplify your pricing, and deliver premium level service. That's what we're here to do with you every day. And this muscle memory, this man who cannot be stumped, is going to help us again today as we talk through the PIA client. What that even means, how to defeat this, how to combat this person, and why you actually need them in your business. What is the PIA client we're talking about, Joseph? What is this problem?
The pain in the ass client. Every single one of us has one, and yet for some reason we can't ever seem to get rid of them. The pain in the ass client could look like a lot of different people. It could be the one that doesn't seem to respect your time. It could be the one that never seems to quite pay on time. It could be the one that doesn't want to pay. It could be the one that doesn't respect you. There's so many things. But the pain in the ass client almost always acts in opposition to your core value. That's usually the first way to indicate that this person's a pain in the ass.
Right. And I've heard of companies actually building it into their process to maybe not avoid, but qualify out, disqualify the PIA client. But I'm one to say, you know what? What if we challenge that? And what if our process was deliberate in dealing with PIA clients? Because I'll challenge it right here, right now by saying, what do you think the competitors are going to have trouble with? Probably the same client. If you could break through to that person, would there be value in that? And would I be wrong to say that they may become one of your best lifetime clients?
Can I touch on that for a moment?
Let's do it. Jump right in, man.
So I can think right off the top of my head. I had a customer where he was my best and my worst customer ever. Currently, I believe we had sold him up to $300,000 to $325,000 in residential electrical work over the course of a year and a half.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit then. Not a whole bunch of work, just a bit.
It was consistent. It started off where he wanted a 100 to 200 amp service. Then we gave him a 200 amp service. Then he wanted a generator to go with it. So then he set it up with a 20 kW generator. Then he realized he was too cold in his house. So he requested 60 space heaters to be installed.
Wow.
Then he wanted a bigger panel because he needed to accommodate all the space heaters. So we gave him a 300 amp service. Then he needed a bigger generator to accommodate the new loads. So we got him a bigger generator. Then we put in over 100 recessed lights into his house. Then we had to repaint the whole house. Then it was new. It was a constant thing.
At any point, here's my question. At any point in the early stages of this, did you see that big number? Like, this is a $300,000 client coming?
No, I literally thought this guy, I could not wait to get away from him. He smelled. It was just like the house was dirty. He was always in his boxers, like all the time, never shaved, just like this guy. And the reason why I considered him a PIA client was because I knew if I could sit down and break him down that we could always get a sale. But sometimes it would take up to 8 hours to close a deal with this guy because he would just ramble and talk, but I'd walk out with $35,000, $40,000 every time. But he just wouldn't stop talking. And his house was always covered in garbage, but he had money and he was willing to spend it on things he felt were valuable.
Wow. So his valuation process was a bit lengthened, let's say, extended compared to the average. I mean, that's a long time. And guys, I mean, sometimes it feels like 8 minutes can feel like an eternity. Imagine busting with someone for 8 hours.
He literally has the record for my longest presentation ever. And I consider myself if I may say so, a pretty adequate closer. And the thing is that for me to take 8 hours to close this guy, right?
There it is. Modest in uniform, adequate closer. We'll change your name from SalesBot to Joseph Adequate closer, Lucani. That's actually a mouthful. Sorry to
Sounds about
interrupt
right.
you. That was
No,
fun.
it's fine. It's the reason why I say it is I never want to be the one who toots my own horn.
Yeah,
So I'm going to always leave it in a place of neutrality, and I'll have other people do it for me if
we
necessary.
appreciate that. We'll build
You're
you
welcome.
back up, brother.
I appreciate it, man. But the thing was, this guy took every single presentation. If I saw him on the calendar, I would say, listen, I can't see my schedule, but block it. Block the whole calendar out. I'm going to be with this guy all day. It's like, Joe, you're just going there to quote him for some light. Block the whole day out. And then I'd get there at 8 a.m. and I'd leave at 8 p.m.
Wow.
It'd just be ridiculous.
Wow.
But
got to get back to the family, sir.
Yes. I got to get back to family. But the point was, why I'm even getting into this is this. You're never going to recognize who your best clients are until you really invest in the emotional relationship. He was not an easy sale. He was not a pleasant person. He was asking numbers and facts and IQs and all these different things. He was barely dressed. His house was in shambles. But the thing is that we believed in offering premium level service to everyone we came in contact with. It was our creed. We will never skimp on service. Until you tell me no, I'm not going to leave. I'm going to stay here and continue to push to serve you at my best levels. And eventually he recognized, he's by month 6, he was like, all right, Joe, I know you're coming by, probably going to buy something. I don't know what I got to do. Should I call the credit card in advance to get the limit raised? He just knew what was going to happen. But the thing is that I want you to start questioning your own limiting beliefs. Those pain in the ass customers, if you can really become their guy, their emotional safe haven, what you'll find is that they'll never even call the competitor for anything.
No.
Because you're willing to do something that no one in their lives are willing to do. Not just no other service providers doing, no one in their life is likely doing for them. Yeah. Showing them they are worth your time, energy, hassle, and effort.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And guys, if you're in the Facebook with us, engaging live right now, please let me know. By show of hands, have you ever had a PIA client? I'm expecting a lot of hands on this one, live or watching the replay. Let us know. Have you faced these guys? And what's that major quality that you recognize? Are you trying to disqualify them on that quality? Let us know some of that stuff. I would love to chat through that with you. Now, I think one of the biggest things, to answer my own question a little bit, is it comes off guarded. And we talked a bit about this in the sales class before. I'm a fully assertive and dominant male when I'm in that situation and there's a home service provider at my house. So I do have a dirty little secret, though. If they run the play and they run it well, I cave hard. And I am that person. I value my time so much that I won't mess around ever again. I will simply call that person and only that person for all my needs, desires, problems, and inquiries, really.
You're completely right. And I got to admit, I'm the same way. Most good salespeople respect good salespeople, but we will just grill the bad salespeople. You can't help
like yourself in your post today, the solar installer.
Yeah. So just literally, I had a situation, just to touch on that. The other day, a door-to-door salesperson came to me, and I opened it. Because I never want to disrespect the door-to-door salesperson. I had to do door-to-door before. I respect the grind. I'm going to give him the time of day. And he was just awful. I mean, fucking awful. He didn't even introduce himself. He didn't introduce his company. He just went right into trade jargon. Hey, just want to let you know, you're a south-facing sun, and you would be ideally perfect for this type of solar, and you could probably reduce your bill. And I'm like, time out, buddy. I was like, first off, I'm Joe. What's your name, buddy? And then walked him through, and I was like, how can I help? I'm actually a residential electrical sales specialist. I'll even tell you what you need to do to get me on the calendar. I was like, can we just slow it down? And I'll even book an appointment if you do it right. And I did. I told him how to run the play. I was like, go back to your van, come back. Let's do it again. Let's run it. And then I'll book an appointment if you do it right.
Okay. Just to be clear, you made him go back to the van. You took full control of this.
Yes.
He goes back to his van and comes back, and you role played it with him and then signed up for a meeting.
Yep. They're actually coming by later today.
Awesome. I love you for that. That's amazing. But this guy's got to be shaken up. He
actually was really uncomfortable at first, but the thing was, it wasn't such a big problem. Because the thing is that when you stop treating people like people, that's when the big concern is. I never see anyone as a commodity. There is always a person behind the service. And if you could recognize that there's this person there, it's very hard to be cruel. Well, at least for me. I mean, I'm sure there's some people who are okay with it, but personally, I never felt power in being cruel to others.
No.
So I know what he's going through. He's knocking on door to door. Some people aren't answering. Some people aren't even going to give him the time of day. They're yelling at him through the Ring camera and saying, no, I don't want to talk to you. Or he's sitting in the sun and cooking all day. Maybe he gets 1 or 2 appointments, and even then they're not closing. So wouldn't it be better to say, you know what? This guy might become a great salesman one day. He really might. But he's never going to unless we can give him a kickstart.
Right.
And I'm happy to do that for him and get a little investment into the Karma Bank.
Yeah, perfect. I love the Karma Bank. Maybe one day he becomes a client. Who knows?
Never know. It'd be a great story, right?
All right. So you were telling the story, big client, 300K. The guy took all your time, seemed like a big pain in the ass, but it was worth the squeeze.
It really was. The thing is that, as I mentioned earlier, when you see the person behind the problem, you're able to engage in it in a different way. A lot of the pain in the ass clients usually have emotional issues, or they've got social issues, or they're not great at communicating, or they're frustrated a bit and feel out of control in their lives. And anytime someone feels that way, they're going to react negatively or over the top. Being someone like myself, where I get it, I get what it's like being awkward. I know what it's like to not have any friends. This guy related with me in that regard. He wasn't similar to me in from the neurodivergent standpoint, but he was a very lonely, very sad person with no friends and no family. But he had a ton of money. The thing is he was so used to not having anyone want to talk to him. He didn't look like he had money, but he had a ton because he acquired, his mother sold a brownstone or acquired a brownstone in Brooklyn in the 20s for like 32 cents and a bag of nickels. And then he sold it in 2019. So he was sitting on a fortune, had no idea what to do with it. And at the same time, had no one to invest it in. He had no one in his life that was close to him.
Right.
So looking at moral of the story is looking back, when you see a person, you have to recognize what are they going through. And then when you can have that level of grace, suddenly they're not such POSs. Sometimes they're like, you know what? All right, man, you're just a sad, lonely old dude. I can help with that.
Love that. Another place where strategic empathy serves us. And truly, taking a step in their shoes. So, Joe, if you're listening to this right now and you're saying, I get it, the pain in the ass client, sometimes maybe I'm giving up too easy. There could be a benefit. I don't know what's on the other side of this door if I'm able to get this person to open that door with me. But we can all agree that it's going to be a pain in the ass for everyone. So everyone's trying their little key in this lock. Little intestinal fortitude, little resilience could go a long way.
Exactly.
How do we begin to adopt that? How do we begin to combat this and really stay with people? And what do you think are some of the biggest things there?
There's 2 different ways we can do it. And it depends on the 2 different aspects of why this person's a POA or PIA.
PIA, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm combining 2 different phrases.
POS and PIA.
Yeah, they're both. A lot of them are both. The first is that when you allow someone to have control over your process, you allow them to strong arm you. And a lot of people who are these PIA clients need to feel like they have control over something. A lot of times that is because they don't have control in the areas that they really want that control. So the first thing is, when you recognize that someone won't give you ground, you also have to look at it with grace and say, you know what? This guy probably has no control over anything else. And suddenly it softens your heart a little bit. It gives you a little bit of grace to say, you know what? Yeah, I get it. I may be your electrician on this one, but I'm going to go home to a loving family and this guy won't. So let's try and give him a little grace while I'm here.
Yeah. That shift in mentality alone, I just want to interject and say, in truly doing that and embodying that, you will be able to come back from the heart and stick with this longer. Right? I just keeping in mind being there so many times myself, it's frustrating to be in this place of I know I can help you, right? I know what the gap is. If only you will
Mhm.
help yourself and just join me in this mission. Really, that's what I always feel in that place.
Mhm.
But
You're right.
how do we get them to see it?
The way we get them to see it is by not bending in our values and our stances of what is the right thing to do. And I have a story about that, if you don't mind, if I can talk about it.
Wow, love stories. Let's go.
All right, awesome. So I don't know if I mentioned this one before, but I feel like it's really relevant to this particular situation. For anyone who lives in New York, you know that there is a place called Kiryas Joel. It is the number one Orthodox Hasidic Jewish community, I believe, in the country, if not the world. It also, unfortunately, happens to be the lowest, I think, the highest poverty rate in the entire country.
Wow.
So there's not a lot of, so on paper, there's not a lot of affluent people there, right?
You see this come up on the schedule and you're thinking, yeah,
Yeah,
no
like
bias, no bias, no bias. Serve at the highest level. Let's go.
exactly. So what ended up happening was I showed up to the door and it was right before the high holiday. And the issue with this customer was he had not paid his electric bill. Didn't want to pay it. Said he had it. He just said, I just didn't want to pay it. I felt it was too high, so I didn't want to do it.
Not a great
So he
start.
shut off his power, right? Then he said, okay, you shut off my power, I'll pay the bill. Then when he actually came back and they were going to re-energize the power, they realized his house was so unsafe because it was all cloth exterior. The aluminum was exposed. The meter was an A-frame. The panel inside was completely rotten out. They're like, we're not going to re-energize this. This is clearly unsafe. So the problem is that in this particular Orthodox faith, before the high holidays, they're not allowed to touch anything. They have to literally sit Shabbat where they're going to be in a home and they can't even light a candle. They can't cook. They can't do anything. So when it's dark and you have no heat and you have no power, you can't even have anything automatic. You literally have to just sit there. So he needed this back on. And he was calling all the electricians in the area and no one would come help him because primarily they would go within their own circle. And the only time they would call us, the Goy, is when they really needed someone. So we show up, it's around like 3 p.m. He has to be done by sundown. He's got to be done by sundown. Otherwise he can't do anything. And I'm like, okay, I can help you. This is what it's going to cost. I think it was only like at the time, like $2,000. It really was not a substantial amount.
Yeah.
And this guy literally grabbed his beard and was pulling it and like yelling at the sky and saying it was too much. He couldn't possibly do it.
Well,
I just visualized that.
Like angry, but also looks like he's driven mad at this point.
Literally, it was at a point where he's like praying to the sky and like asking for deliverance. And like, it was the whole 9 yards. It was like, I can't, there's no way. I can't do it. I don't have this money. It's never going to happen. I can't do it. My cousin Liezer is able, he's in Brooklyn. He can come up. He'll do it for a quarter of the price. I'm like, okay, well, where's Liezer? Well, he can't come because of the high holiday. Okay, would you want to wait and not have power until he comes back? Well, no. Okay, so how would you like to proceed? And eventually, no, can't do it. This is the point of the story, though, that's really important. When you have a PIA client, they are insisting that they cannot do something. He was swearing that he had no money. There was nothing in his life that he could do. He couldn't help. And I needed to show mercy to him. I couldn't. I literally could not. I gave him the best price I literally could. Even 2,000, I'm looking at it, I'm like, how the fuck did I undersell it that much? But I did. So I said, I can't help you. I'm sorry. I want to help. If you change your mind, call me back. So I walk away. And actually, I drive away. I didn't make it 1 block. This old man was chasing me on foot. He was chasing my van on foot.
Wow.
And literally, yeah, like you think about it, like a 60-something-year-old man in beard, full black dress, everything, like following me the entire way. I thought maybe I left a screwdriver or something. And I pulled over. I was like, what's going on? How can I help? And he's like, how much was it? And I remember telling him the amount, and he goes, okay. He pulls a ShopRite bag out of his black shirt, and he pulls stacks of $100 bills, and he counts them out, and he hands them to me. And he goes, he gives me $200 extra. He's like, do it right. So I turned around, I did the installation. Now, some of you guys might be thinking like, oh, well, he had to, it was desperate. I want to tell you the second half of the story of why it's so important to show grace to your PIA clients. This person not only he couldn't do it during the high holiday, but as soon as the holiday ended, this was like a week or two later, he wrote us a 5-star review on every single site that we had access to.
Wow.
And he said that we were the only one. And he even said, even though they were a goy, he treated me with the best respect. And like literally showed me he treated me with respect. And not only that, but he referred me to almost all of his family. He invited us over for dinner. This guy became a lifelong client. And if I had just caved, what would have happened?
Not that.
Definitely not that. So the point of the story here, guys, is this. You have two types of clients. One who is really going to try and take advantage of you because they feel like they can. The second is going to be the person who tries to take an advantage of you because they know no other way of controlling their lives. And we cannot fault either one of them. If they're taking advantage of you because they feel like they can, you need to stand your ground and say, I don't need this. And if they're trying to take advantage of you because they have no other aspect, please, I implore you all, show grace, show empathy. And that client, both of those types of clients became lifelong, some of the best clients I've ever had in my life. So please keep that in mind.
Even the second one, just to give this a number and really highlight the benefit. The first guy you said was definitely worth over 300K. Mm-hmm. The second, I mean, by the time you factor in the review, the repeat, the referrals, like what would you estimate?
Well over $50,000, because we started off where it was, I think, like a $2,000 job. He connected me to his brother and then one of his cousins. And both of those we did 2 service upgrades for. And then we became established more in that community. And then we ended up, one of his brothers that he connected me to again was a GC, and we did projects for them. So it was like, just off the top of my head, I'm thinking 50 grand, but it very likely could have been more over the lifetime base of their clientele.
Right. And if you hadn't stuck with that, if you hadn't run the play, and again, as we mentioned in the beginning, the muscle memory helps with this, guys. Role play, practice. What do they say about iron in a cup of water? Starts to rust.
Yeah. There's a good example. I don't know where exactly I heard this, but it was a great quote. It was, iron rusts if left in water within 8 hours. And the purpose of that is this. If you're not practicing constantly, you will become rusty in some aspect of your process. So that's why your process needs to become you. The way I talk to all of you now, I mean, once again, I'm not a social person. I do this through muscle memory, through attention, and through my intention of delivering great service. This is the result of it. If you adopt your own process or the process we teach, and you make it a core belief and a core value to who you are, now it's always going to be authentic, and you'll always be able to communicate at the highest levels.
Absolutely. I'm going to tie another quote in there. You may have heard me say this before, but predictably, people do not rise to their highest potential, but they fall to their lowest standards.
Yeah.
This is that exactly. If you will practice, if you will have that muscle memory, right? It's no different than playing a guitar, an instrument. You got to stay on this. If you'll just give it 5, 10, 15 minutes a day, if you'll listen on the way to the house, if you'll discuss the job on the way to the house, you will be better prepared. As we said before, the 6 Ps, we mentioned that this week. Proper preparation prevents piss poor performance.
I love that freaking quote. I was going to say, it's literally one of the, I'm going to coin that forever.
And I'm going to full circle tie that into, as you've been saying, training for the low season, not the high season. This again is that. It's being prepared for these moments when we're challenged in our process, not all the times where it comes easy. Anyone can win there. You want to win when you're at the bottom. And that's what's also going to attract your all-stars. And that's what's going to get you these lifetime client value from people that no one else can sell. Night and day difference in your future. Can't stress it enough.
I wanted to add one more thing to that if possible.
Hit it.
I don't believe that there is a person that cannot be sold. And I don't say that in a way of manipulation or as a way of goading over anyone. But I really, truly believe that if someone were to call you, they have already have an emotional problem that they're trying to solve in one aspect or another. Maybe that problem is buried. Maybe it's real deep and they're not revealing it. But I do believe in my heart, if you can find that emotional cause and you can solve it, every single person you come in contact with, you can close.
Yeah, really positive point there. Well, we already gave a couple actions, but did you want to highlight those again? And then what I'd like to do in brief is maybe just introduce what's different about tomorrow. And
Okay. Yeah,
and
sweet. I'd be
going
happy
forward.
to.
Yeah.
So the action item I'd say is the very first is understand what your values are, right? The reason why I'd say that is there are some people that you'll work with that you're like, you know what? I don't need you, right? There's going to be occasionally someone that you're going to be like, you know what? You are just outright disrespectful and I'm not going to tolerate that. Doesn't mean you have to disqualify everyone, but you, at the very least, your bare minimum action is know your line, know where that line stands, and be willing to edge that line if necessary. Make sure that you know what are you willing to stand for and what are you not. If someone crosses that line, know how are you reeling that back in, or how do you disqualify yourself professionally. I'd say it's the bare minimum action. Would that make sense?
Yeah, super important. Definitely.
Yeah. The all-star action honestly sounds more like therapy and emotional conditioning than anything else. But the all-star action is we are all connected in ways that we cannot see. Life is serendipitous. It is a beautiful, beautiful expression of just existence. And when you look at it that way, there's a lot that you can take away from it. So instead of looking at this difficult customer as someone who's really trying to cause harm to your day, instead look at this person like, wow, they must really be sad to be living in this situation. They must really be lonely to be this bitter. And when you can look at someone with a perspective of grace, it becomes a lot easier to be forgiving and patient with them. When you look at them at face value and you're like, dude, you just suck in every aspect of life and I want nothing to do with you, it becomes very hard to be tolerant. But when you can say, you know what, I can tell you're probably suffering, even though you're not letting me on, and I'm not going to let it get to me because my life's work and my family loves me, but I'm going to do my best to leave you better than I found you. That is the all-star action.
Yeah, I love it, man. Sticking with it. So much in business is about that intestinal fortitude. I can't say it enough. If you can stomach it, it's usually worth the squeeze. Guys, we're here every day trying to help you master your sales, simplify your pricing, and deliver premium level service. I certainly believe this episode has a place in that mission. But we want to talk to you briefly on what's coming up here because we've got some exciting stuff. We decided to add a little bit more to this value deposit that we're making 5 days a week, and we're super excited about this. So I'll just briefly introduce it and saying that, you know, about a week and a half ago, Joseph and I decided that it would be a big advantage for you and a big value deposit if we could actually go and do some work with emerging technologies, some of the new exciting stuff, and break that down and help you with simple terms to explain it and simple ways to incorporate it in your options and offer it. How did I say that, Joseph? Is there anything else you want to add to that?
There's only one thing that I'd want to stress, in that this is just us equalizing the playing field. I guarantee if you went to any plumbing shop, they would talk to you about the latest, water softening systems and water conditionings, water treatments, the emergency automatic shutoffs. All those things exist. Or if you're in HVAC, you've got IEQs, or you're going to have the best kind of new filtration systems, or you're going to have the energy saving systems. All the latest technologies front and center, and you all know about it. But when was the last time you heard someone talk about electrical training and electrical product that wasn't in some boring code seminar where they're just holding things saying, and this connection A to B is how you get to C to 3. It's like, no one wants to hear that. So we're going to take it a step further, and we want to make this playing field equal for all of the trades. And we are standing for electricians like you.
I love that. So what are we diving into tomorrow? What that looks like, guys, is tomorrow would be live on the Facebook group. Friday, optional Friday, as Joseph really made there with his post that you put out, and have people reach out for help with any options. That's still going to be standing as well, but optional Friday live on the Facebook group. Every week, we're going to go into some technology, something new, and
Mhm.
help you with those options specifically. As we said, if you're listening to the podcast, that's likely going to drop on Monday just because of the day latency there. Either way, weekly, Friday or Monday. If you want it sooner, jump in the Facebook group, join us there. What are we talking about tomorrow, Joseph?
I was going to say what we're talking about is there is a particular, I'm not going to give too much away, but there is a particular scenario where people struggle between portable generators and automatic generators. And there's actually a transitional equipment that you can install that you can not only lock the customer in with with a portable installation, but you can also give them the grace of saying, when you're ready, we've already done half the installation at this point, and you're already ready for an automatic transfer system. And now the conversion goes from, I had a customer I sold a $3,000 portable system to, and now this customer is buying a $16,000 automatic generator system. And they're only going to buy exclusively from me because I set it up that way.
Wow.
Yep.
Can't wait to unpack that with you, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. As always, guys, thank you for joining us. Sincerely hoping you received so much value from today. We're here to help you master sales, simplify pricing, and deliver premium level service. Thank you, Joe, for joining us again. We'll talk to you guys next time on
Always a
Electripreneur
pleasure.
Secrets.
Take care, all.